Hello, guys. I just said I'll come on live very quickly. And it has to do definitely with the state of our nation. We all fought so hard for democracy and human rights in our country. We also fought for good governance. That is a government that will be responsive to our needs and aspirations. But seeing what has been going on for a few days, we can all agree that this government is really on the wrong path. And it is important for all of us to stand up and speak up now or forever hold our peace. The Gambia went through hell and back for over 22 years. And during this period, ñun as a people collectively, we fought so hard to make sure that we'll never get back to that level again. We fought to make sure that democracy will be the cornerstone of everything that we do in that country. That rule of law, the respect for the fundamental rights and freedoms will never be compromised ever again in our country. But we also wanted a government that would bring good governance so that we'll never go back to the days of Yahya Jammeh or anything that looks like it. We've seen a president who decided that now he's very comfortable and started a youth movement. One that he told the whole world should not be associated with his name. Only for us to wake up and see him in a t-shirt with the name Barrow Foundation or Barrow Youth Movement on it. After he had written a press release from his office that no movement of such should bear the name of the president. We turn around and he turned the movement into a foundation. One that is supposedly doing pretty much the same work that his government is supposed to do. And the facts are facts that President Barrow and his advisors have now taken a different path from the one that brought them to power. Because what brought Barrow to power was the manifesto and the programs of the coalition 2016. Not Barrow Youth Movement or Barrow Foundation. It is absolutely sad that within a year, President Barrow and his advisors have all of a sudden forgotten what brought them to power today. I was in the Gambia and I've spoken to a lot of people. Yes, there is peace. But most people are still suffering in that country. I've spoken to victims who believe that this government has given them their back. Because when I visited the victim center, I came to the realization that they had written numerous letters to the State House to have a meeting with the president. But they were rebuffed. It was until when the German president came to the Gambia and decided that he was going to visit the victim center that the office of the president, the State House, started scrambling to have a meeting because they did not want to be embarrassed by the German president being the first president to visit the victim center. And I believe that President Barrow and his advisors have forgotten that it is because of the victimizations of Yahya Jammeh that Gambians came together, and that is why this government is in place today. Because if Jammeh had not victimized people, we would not be where we are today. We would have had a normal transition. There would not have been a need for a global, a massive coalition of Gambians, both in politics and outside of politics, to come together and end our plight. Barrow has been waffling on everything. The agreement that he had with his partners that he was going to stay for 3 years, now we've seen him trying to use Senegal and what happened to Senegal as an excuse. His agreement that he should not run again, he's been very shaky about it. Because when he was asked about it, instead of directly saying, no, I am not running because the agreement that I have with the people is that I should not run again, he said, well, we'll talk about that when the time comes. When we talked about accountability and transparency, that we don't want the days of Jammeh to come back again, what did we get? We now have Mr. Barrow creating foundations that mirror Yaya Jammeh's foundation. A foundation now that will run parallel to the government. It is sad, but it is unacceptable. And we as a people must not continue to sit aside and watch as everything that we fought for is being destroyed. Today, Dr. ISMAILA CEESAY, a professor at the Gambia University, as I speak, is at the Serious Crimes Unit, answering questions for an interview that he did with the Voice newspaper. And what he said in that interview, the reason for this whole questioning, is because he said that even with the presence of the regional forces, ECOMIG, Gambia's long-term security risks will not be eliminated unless the president wins the support or the confidence of the Gambian army, which is a factual statement. But this is why Dr. ISMAILA CEESAY today, as I speak to you, is at the Serious Crimes Unit of Banjul Police, answering questions about a factual statement and opinion in a newspaper. In that same article, Dr. CEESAY is arguing that he believes that over 75% of the Gambian army will not die for Yaya Jammeh because they do not believe in him. What crime has he committed for him to be called for questioning? You see, when Jammeh came to power, there were a lot of things that he was doing and people took them to be acceptable. When he arrested politicians, they said, oh, that's very affair. When he arrested the PPP people and pretty much humiliated them, they say, oh, that's okay. These are the PPP guys. But as a people, we must not allow any extrajudicial actions being taken by anybody. I have been on the phone. I have tried to call so many people in the Gambia. I spoke to a cabinet minister who is maybe as pissed off as we are that this is happening. Because he understands that this would not help this government or this country. And Adama Barrow must understand that it's not that we don't love him, but we love our country more. And it's not that we hate him, but we hate injustices or anything that looks like what had transpired in our country for the past 22 years. And it's not that we do not trust him, but we've been duped by somebody who came and acted like he loved us and was there for us to end injustices, only to turn around and brought us the hardest form of injustice in our country. So it is paramount for Adama Barrow to understand that yes, we as a people will never go back to the days of Yaya Jammeh. And if you want to start with your police to be questioning every Gambian who utters a statement, then believe me, you'll be doing a lot of questioning. Because we are not going to relent in our fight to ensure that Gambia would be the democratic country that the whole world would be using as an example. Mr. Barrow and your team, this is bigger than you. This is a fight that happened on the backs of people who lost their lives for our people. People who bled for our freedom. People who sweated for our people. People who lost their freedoms for this freedom. And we are not going to play with it. Yes, you are the occupants of the State House, but you are not the Gambia. But this is what happens when you surround yourself with people who do not even understand or have the slightest idea of what it takes to fight for liberty and democracy. Mr. Barrow, you're losing your ways. And anybody who loves you will tell you that you're losing your ways. And when you start sidelining people who fought to make sure that you will be where you are today, then know that you are doing a great disservice, not only to yourself, but to the greater good of Gambians who fought and died and went to jail for our freedom today. The Gambia is bigger than you, and all those people surrounding you today, calling you Mansa, calling you all these names. We are here because of what people did. The solo sendings who died, the single nurses who died, the Femi Peters who died recently, whose funeral you chose not to attend. The students who were massacred, the soldiers who were massacred on November 10, 11, 1994. The December 30th people who came and gave their lives for the liberation of our people. So, Mr. President, by being an accidental president, doesn't mean that you fought this fight. We collectively fought it for the greater good of the Gambia. And when we stood by you through everything, we did it with the understanding and expectation that we never again will we see anything that resembles Jammeh's excesses, whether in terms of human rights or human rights violations or corruption. So, Mr. Barrow, the only foundation that Gambians are interested in is the program that brought you to power. That is the Coalition 2016 program. We are not interested in your foundations. And we'll be damned if we are going to have a parallel government to the central government of the Gambia. And Mr. Barrow, Gor, Tekadom, there will be no wahead in this country. We will not accept it. We will resist it with all our might. And I don't think, Mr. President, you have what it takes to stand in the path of this wave that would not relent in seeing a democratic Gambia. Our fight was not to bring another Mansa. Our fight was to end Mansaya and build a democratic Gambia. Not one where people are called for questioning because of statements that they make. Not one where the president would decide that I'm going to build a foundation for what? We do not need your foundation. We did not pay you to be building foundations. We pay you to address the needs and aspirations of the Gambian people through the program of the coalition on which you campaigned and won the confidence of the people with your peers, not only you, to be elected into office. So your foundations, put them where they came from and throw them to the dustbin. We are not interested. Your youth movement, we are not interested. And all these shenanigans that are going on, we are not interested. Mr. President, we pay you monthly to be a servant of the Gambian people, not to build a parallel government. We voted for you not to bring anything that resembles Yaya Jammeh, but to end Yaya Jammeh's excesses. And we demand a government that will not only respect the fundamental rights and freedoms of Gambian people, but one that would not sideline the victims on whose backs you climb to become the president of the Gambia. So this is a warning to you that we are not joking, because we do not have the luxury of joking. We are not building a parallel government because we do not have the luxury of building a parallel government. And we are not working to entrench you in power, because entrenchment of Yaya Jammeh is the reason why you had an agreement with your partners that you will serve for 3 years, after which you will go and topato sosohla, and they would vote for somebody in an election that is free and fair without somebody who had the power of incumbency and destroy our country. The ploy to entrench you in power for the next 15 years would fail miserably, because we as a people will not stand aside and watch that happen. And with that, I call for the unconditional release of Dr. ISMAILA CEESAY and an immediate end to this nonsense of calling people for questioning because of opinions that they shared with newspapers. With that, thank you so very much. We will win, and we will have a democratic Gambia, and a Gambia that is transparent, whether you want it or not, because this is not about you, this is about us, the Gambian people, who suffered, who died, who bled, who sweated, who lost everything so that you can become president. Thank you so very much.